recently received an email from a customer who purchased our latest box card, and she wanted to kind of use it and modify it a little bit. So here's how you would go about doing that. Now, I'm not going to spend any time showing you how to upload files. There's a completely separate video for that. So I'm just going to use something that's already in my design space here. Okay, and here is one of the files. So we're going to insert that. So let's take a look at the layers section here. We're going to be working with layers a little bit as well. It's helpful to understand how these work. So right now, we only have one file in here, and you can see that file name is right here. This is the actual file name that we give it. If we click on this, it's going to select everything in that file group. And right now, in that file group are two layers. One layer being the main cut layer, which is an orange or yellow, orange, whatever you want to call it. And the other layer is the solid score line here. And you can actually turn on and turn off the individual layers by clicking on the little eyeball here. That's actually going to come in very handy here in just a moment, and I'll show you why. So before we do anything to this file, we want to ungroup it so that each layer is free and independent of each other. And there's two ways to accomplish that. One is we can click on this file anywhere, right-click, and do an ungroup, or you can click on it here, and then also click ungroup up here, just below where it says layers. As an alternative, instead of clicking here, you can select the actual file by clicking on the file name. Now that we have the file selected, we can click ungroup, and you'll notice that it separates them here in the layers section. Now before we do anything else to this file, I want to make sure that we don't modify the score lines. So what we want to do is we want to turn off the score layer, make it invisible by clicking on the eyeball. Now another thing that you want to keep in mind is now that the file is ungrouped, if you do move anything, it may move the score line out of place. So you want to make sure that if you're doing any sort of modification that you don't move things around, because when you're done, the score line may not be in the right place. So let's say we want to take this box card and do something or add something to the center of this little chick. Now you could technically leave these other pieces that go onto a different layer there, but it may be easier to work if we can just get rid of them. And then we're going to do that and accomplish that by using the contour feature. So our score lines are hidden. We don't have to worry about modifying them. We can go ahead and click on this and select it, and we can click contour. And the contour window, as you can see, it says here, it turns on or off portions of the cuts. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on hide all contours. And by doing that, it basically hides everything except for one, because you don't want to hide all of them. Otherwise, you may as well just delete it. So in this case, it just so happens that it kept the one that I want to keep. Now, you can tell which one it's keeping because when you don't have anything highlighted, the ones that it's going to keep are a little bit darker. These are the ones that it's removing. So let me just show you a quick example. Let me turn a few more of these on and go back. Let me close this out. And you'll see here that it removed this egg, but it kept everything else. So let's go back to contour, and I can click these off. And then we close this. All we're left is with this chick and this piece for the box card. Okay, now is where you can go in and do your customization. Now keep in mind that the accuracy of Design Space isn't going to be on par with a program like Inkscape or Adobe Illustrator, but it can get the job done. So what we're going to do, I'm going to zoom out just a little bit, and I'm just going to grab a basic shape. In this case, it's going to be a square. Okay, so there's my square. I'm going to move it, and I'm going to unlock it so I can change the ratio here, so it's not 1:1. And we're going to cover up the part that we want to either edit or remove. So we've got the part that we want to remove covered up. And now what we can do is draw a box around both of these shapes, and we can click slice. Okay, now doing that, we'll kind of just slice this out, and you'll see that that's not perfect. We can always go back in with another rectangle, bring it down just a little bit until we get it nice and flat. But that, now let's delete these. We don't need these. But that is how you would go about removing a part. And that's using a combination of contour and slice. Now, let me zoom out here for a second. Now I want to show you here. Now we're going back to the layers. We're going to turn on the score marks. Now you don't see them because they're behind the other layer. So as long as we have them selected here, we can go to Arrange and Send to Front. And now you'll see that the score marks are back. Okay, so let's just leave that alone. I'm not going to group this just yet. And we can go back to, actually I'm going to hide the score marks for now. I still don't want to mess with them. And I can go under Shapes, and let's just say that I want to weld a star to this. I'm going to take and select both the star and my layer and click Weld. And now I'm going to grab another star. I'm just using generic shapes. These can be anything, just FYI. And we can pop that there. Select both the main layer and the new star by just dragging a box around them and clicking Weld. And now we've got two stars there. Okay. So now what we can do is turn the score lines back on. And again, you see here that once we start working with this layer, it always brings it up to the top for us. So that's not a problem, but if you want it to look okay and want to be able to see the score marks, you can highlight them here, go to Arrange, and Send to Front. And again, now, because we ungroup this, you'll take a look here. If we click on this and move it, it's not moving it along with the score mark. So I'm going to undo that twice. We're going to select everything, right-click, and group it. Now, no matter where we click, it's going to group it and keep it all together when we move it around. Now, because these are solid score lines, you're going to want to either use the score tool in your Explorer or the circular score tool with your Maker. And we do need to change that. So let's select the score layer, which is this one here, and go up to Line Type, set that to Score. Okay. And of course, the final step. Now let me just illustrate one more thing here. If we were to click Make It right now, you'll notice that Design Space takes the score marks and puts them on a separate layer. Obviously, we don't want that. We're going to cancel that. And anytime, this applies to any file we have, whether or not you've modified it or not, you always want to make sure that anything that has a score mark, you attach it. So if we select this and click Attach, and now we click Make It, you'll see that Design Space keeps the score marks intact with the actual design that it wants to cut. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any further questions or suggestions for a future video, please use the contact form on our website, 3dsvg.com.